Thank you everyone for joining. I am Samantha Williams. I was about to do my other intro. I am the entrepreneur in residence at the New Haven Free Public Library as the EIR. I host office hours every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4. So today's going to be from like 3 to 4. And we also invite business owners and professionals and to provide some gems and nuggets of wisdom to the entrepreneurial and small business community. I am also the president and CEO of Sam's Word, which is where some of you may have found me and saw the post, which is primarily a content development firm. And I write for entrepreneurs and small to mid-sized companies. I help with any of their writing needs. I also do social media management, and I have a coaching program in September that will be for Black women in business. I'm also the president of the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals, and all people are welcome to join the collaboration, so we hope you'll consider it.
Today, I'm part of it, and I'm not a minority woman.
No, she's not. Today we have Nancy Ruzow from am I saying it right? Ruzow from Ruzow Graphics. And she's going to be talking to us about what is a brand and helping you get your whole brand identity together. Also, this presentation will be recorded and it will be shared on the library's Facebook and YouTube pages. And we get a lot of playback. So make sure you're going and checking it out and hearing what Nancy has to say. So I'm going to hand it over to Nancy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen and...
Oh, I should say real quick, because I might say something about the questions. I'm not just someone that's watching. I am from the library. I work with Sammy, so I'm not just interrupting. Like,
oh, I thought you did that already. Sorry.
No, it's fine. My name is Colleen. I work with Sammy, and I'm just the library representative today. So if I see any questions in the chat, I'll just kind of interrupt.
Perfect.
And say them.
So today we're going to talk about brand strategy essentials. To let you know a little bit about me, I have been in my own graphic design business for 35 years, helping companies develop and stay on brand. I work with mom and pop shops. I work with medium and mid-sized businesses. I also work with Adobe, Netflix, the University of Oxford, and I recently did a few jobs for the NFL. So my clients really range, but for every company, the same thing is that brand strategy is essential. So there's a TV show that made this quote, "Make it simple but significant," a famous quote in the design world. Does anyone know what that might be or who said it?
No.
It was Don Draper. From Mad Men, because it was all about advertising, which is about graphics and words.
I was thinking HGTV people. I was like, wait.
Well, I love that too.
It's true.
We've been on a flea market flip.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the big thing is that a brand and a logo are not the same thing. Oops, I got the wrong thing selected. A brand is everything. It is your logo, it's paper choices, it's your slogan and your tagline, it's your lettering, it's a level of service. It's the promise that you give anyone who buys your service or buys your products. It's an attitude, it's a personality. And brands set expectations. The brand image for your company is vital. You develop your brand with research and creativity. We're going to do a little work. I have some worksheets coming up that we'll do. And once you get your brand down, you define it, you nurture it, and you protect it. You should honor your brand elements by never stretching your logo out, or never just changing a tagline just for the sake of changing it. Consistency is key. And when you think about adding something to your brand, you have to say, is this on brand with what I'm talking about for my company? So your brand drives the competitive advantage. It sets you apart in the market. It helps you reach and engage and inquire customers in order to drive revenue and build value. So if you think about the last time you made a decision between two companies, you've got to think, did the visuals sway you? Like if you're in a store and you've got Oreos and Hydrox cookies. I don't even know if Hydrox is still made. Hydrox was the brand that came first, but Oreo has the better branding. So most people will reach for the Oreo because that's what they know. We all eat with our eyes first. So if the brand's not appealing, it won't be chosen as often as the brand that is appealing. And a lot of people will say, I don't have any competitors. It doesn't really matter. Everyone has competitors. I mean, I look around me and say, well, these graphic design firms in my town do different things than I do. Doesn't matter. Everyone is a competitor. So you should know, number one, who your competitors are, and that the world probably sees you as the same. You know, to the outsider, a graphic designer is a graphic designer, a writer is a writer. They don't know that a content writer doesn't write books, or a person who writes for magazines doesn't like to write ad copy. So your brand has to stand apart. So if you think about things like Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's and Burger King, or Uber and Lyft, those are all companies that are different, that stand out and have good brand identities. So until you experience a company's service, perception's the only thing you have to base your decision on. So you want to make it easy for clients to choose you by having all of your brand ducks in a row. You have to be on target with your visuals, and that means everything from the type of photo you use, to the type of lettering, to, as I said before, even the type of paper if you're mailing something out. Your visual style guides have to be on point. So, oh, I just said this. You have to. Everything is essential. Your visual style is essential.
Can I say, when you said the visuals, like we eat with our eyes, like everything's visual based, two things. One, the library realized that, and so even though Twitter is very like text-based historically, we always include an image in every single post because people read with their eyes first, or they'll just skip over it sometimes. Second, Garden Catering is a local New Haven company, and their website is very well done, and they have just right away a picture of their chicken sandwich. And my dad was ordering, I pulled up the website, and he's just like, I want that. He goes, what's that? Like, and I was like, that's a great example. It's like, you see first, and then that
whatever
drives
that
your
is,
decision.
give it to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. And which is why it's really difficult for a lot of companies to choose that opening visual on the website, or to choose what visual they're going to put in the social media, because it just means so much. So then we get to your logo, which is part of your brand, not your brand itself. So does everyone know what company this is?
Yes.
Okay.
Apple.
Apple. And you do not need, I have I'm like sitting here with a fly swatter, been trying to get a fly all day, just landed on my computer, and I got it. Okay.
Yay.
And that's recorded. Great.
We'll keep that out.
Thank you. So you do not need the logo on this page. You do not need you do not need the name of the company, because you can stand apart just by the branding that Apple does with its photography. So you recognize the icons of Apple. With something like Victoria's Secret, you recognize the contrasting black and pink lines. And a lot of things seem basic, but they're really overlooked. But they're just very important. And you have to wonder if your visuals are memorable. So if you look at Amazon, do you know that it's telling you it has everything possible in their store from A to Z? And that's why the arrow points from A to Z. And if you look at the kernel, people understand, even though he's been updated recently, this is his new image, people understand who he is, and he is the face of the company. He is their brand.
That's interesting. There's no picture of chicken.
No picture of chicken. But think about it. Cars do not have cars in their logo.
Yeah.
Right? So you do not have to have the image. Amazon started out as a bookstore. You don't see any books in there because they wanted it always to be something that was A to Z. And you can have basics too, like John Deere uses a deer in their logo. Shell uses a shell in their logo. You have to keep your typography nice and clean. And in the FedEx logo, can you see my pointer here on the screen? Yes. So in the FedEx logo, there is an arrow which says, we are going to take you from here to there. Your package will travel. In the Baskin-Robbins logo, oops, sorry. In the Baskin-Robbins.
Someone told me about the FedEx arrow and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't notice it until someone points out and then you notice it every time.
You notice.
And then what you start to do though is when you see other logos, you start to look for those hidden messages within
Exactly. So do you know that Baskin-Robbins is known as 31 flavors? And in their logo, in the B and the R is the number 31.
That's crazy.
Just subliminal stuff because they're not going to put ice cream in there. So that's how they get it across. You have to make sure that when you have a logo that if you go to a place like 99 Designs or Fiverr, you cannot be guaranteed that the logo is original. Some of the designers there will do original work, but some of them will get clip art or they'll copy something from that they're seeing online, and then you as a company can get screwed because you'll be sued by someone. So you have to be really, really careful, and you also should make sure that the logo looks as good in black and white as it does in color. So effective logos become synonymous with the organizations they portray. Now, these are some of the most recognized logos out there. You guys know what all of these logos are, I assume. So we have Nike, Starbucks, Apple, and McDonald's.
Starbucks, you would assume would have a thing of money like bucks or a star in it, and I've always found it so interesting that it's a mermaid with a crown, you know, and it's so recognizable. It has nothing to do with
changed the mermaid over the years. I have that coming up to show you.
Oh, okay.
So that's what evolve or become extinct is about. So you really, really have to understand that your logo is not evergreen. It doesn't stay the way it is forever unless it's like the CBS logo, which was phenomenal and still in style and was in style and will forever be in style. So this is the Starbucks logo evolution. It was always a mermaid. I actually should know the story of that, but I don't. And they've gradually made the mermaid more prominent so that it was just more of an icon than an illustration, which is where it is today. So now they have this mermaid, and it never has to have the word Starbucks on it. People know what it is.
I find it so funny it has a belly button on the 1987 one.
Right. It is funny.
And they're like, let's get rid of that.
Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the legs that just don't know what they're doing.
Right?
Yeah. So then we have the Shell logo. Now, look at the logo from 1900. It was probably a photograph. Actually, the first, I would say, 3 of them were probably photographs. And gradually, they moved it to be a more and more graphic representation of a shell. But they always had the words shell on it. Well, they didn't always. They used to have the word shell around it, but now they just have the icon. And this I thought was just kind of funny to throw in there. Even the Batman logo for all of the movies has changed. But the first one, the third one, and the last one all seem to be very, very similar. There are just little things that change that talk about each of the movies a little bit. The first one does look like it's vengeance. The last one does look like it's hidden in the Dark Knight. So just a little play on their words. So this is a little exercise that I thought that it would be fun to do. If you guys have a piece of paper, this is about your brand attributes, so coming up with it. So what you do is you make 6 columns on a piece of paper, and you say, how would your community can either be your clients, or it can be your fellow sculptors, or your fellow songwriters, or your fellow designers. How would your community describe you? So, write down 1 sentence or 1 or 2 words. Then you want to say, how would you describe the people who use your website, your product, your Instagram? How would you describe those people? Those are your users. And how do you think that you sound to others? What do you think your voice sounds like? Do you think that you sound confident? Do you think that you sound strong? Do you think you sound like you've got a good vibe? What's the voice that you're saying to other people? And then how do others feel after they interact with you? So they call you up and they want you to write some content, and they get on a Zoom call with you. What do you think that they feel when they're done? Are they satisfied? Are they exuberant? Are they feeling unsure? Do they want to move forward? How do they feel? And then what tangible impact do you think you have on others? So like, what thing do you think you leave behind with them? So what's that one thing that they could say, yep, I met with Julia and she left me with information on all the sculptures that are in the state of Connecticut. And then your X factor. What makes you different from others? So for me, for instance, I don't design, let's see, what don't I design? So I design logos and brands. I design annual reports. I don't design postcards. So there might be someone who designs everything. What makes me different from these other people? It could also be the fact that I've been in business for 35 years, or that I've done work for a major sports team. You can define your difference. So would anyone like to share what they came up with for these different attributes? Okay, we'll move on.
I can share.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I was saying earlier, I run a rare book site on my spare time, and I sell vintage and rare books. So I wrote down short answers for these. So for culture, I wrote knowledgeable about books, fun, happy, and good style for the images of the books that I take. Users are just book lovers in any sense of the word, which can be a great group of people and very diverse. Voice, I said happy, enjoying life, and knowledgeable about books. Again, feeling just happiness. Impact, I said gratefulness for the knowledge and the physical book that they're getting. They're impressed with it and they're happy to own it. And X factor, I said that there's this thing called Bookstagram, which is people that either sell books or just collect books. They'll post pictures of their books, and a lot of it is visually great, but very much the same. And so I try to make mine stick to a certain colorful vibe. I'll use very high contrast, bright colors, but I'll try to arrange the books differently and not make it so copycat to everything else that's on Bookstagrams. And I also pepper the Instagram with personal photos of my own collection or my face talking about a book that I'm holding up or something like that to keep it personal. So I think that's how I'm different from others.
Great. Anyone else?
I could try here.
There are no wrong answers here.
Yeah. I mean, and it's weird. I've never really thought about it in these terms. I had to kind of dig a little. The like the culture, I'm kind of like part of I deal with people who are looking to hire me for something, so clients, and then other people who are either enthusiasts or sculptors themselves.
Okay.
So I think I come across as like an expert in my fields, and I try to be as friendly and helpful as possible while still, remaining professional. And the users that I have are usually either like looking for a product or a service, or they're in order to take a design that they have and they need to make it into an object, which is what I do. Or there are people who are looking to learn from me, usually. And it can be specific skill-based things or kind of larger art-related concepts. And I think I come across as like frank and honest, but also competent, and I try very hard to not kind of not go so highbrow with the art angle as to sort of turn people off, because most of the people that come to me don't have a clear understanding of what I do or what's behind it. And I think that part, when people, like I've had clients tell me that they feel really confident after they speak to me, and that I kind of open their eyes to the whole process, because I try to be really explicit in how I explain what, like all the interlocking parts to a project. And usually they have a lot to think about because they just simply don't know how it works. And like for the impact, people get very excited because they usually come to me with a like they have some sort of an idea or a dream or like something that they want to make,
Mhm.
and I can make that real for them. And so it's really gratifying to see someone see this thing that they've been thinking about for years actually come to fruition and become a real thing. And everyone always mentions that they just had no idea what went into it. Like I mean, if I ask you, what does a sculptor do? How does it work? Most people are just like, well, I don't know. It's very strange and very specialized, but also really interesting. Artists tend to be kind of fascinating to people, and I forget that sometimes. And the X factor, people are always surprised at how young I seem and that I'm female in my industry. Like those things keep popping up over and over again. And I kind of do a variety of work, and so it's really hard to pigeonhole me into either like commercial or fine art.
I
So
would say the same thing now that you're saying that about the rare books. It's a lot of men and a lot of older men. So it is interesting to be standing out in that way. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I do is model making. I do like commercial work for like the toys and collectibles industry, and in especially what's called like the garage kit world, which is hobbyists. A female sculptor is like a unicorn. Like they just don't have them, it's like, it's really, really rare. So I've gotten a lot of attention for that alone. So.
Well, those are good places for you all to get started. So this is kind of like a Mad Libs that I try to give to my clients when I start working with them. So this would be a sentence that you would complete. Your name provides your product or service to whoever the user is in what kind of culture is it? Is it a business? Is it a library? Is it a commercial? Whatever it is, environment with a voice. Is it a brand voice? Is it a person's voice? Is it a client's voice? And then you help them feel what? And you impact them how? And that actually will give you that X factor that we were just talking about. So, and I can actually email you these sheets if you want to mail them out to people.
That would be fantastic, yeah.
Okay. So this is just a great exercise to go through. And where did I skip one? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to jump from there to your slogan or tagline because it's the hook that really can help sell your company. I know Yamilka is on the call, and she was working on the slogan with her. She's a co-owner of her business with her husband, and they 100% didn't agree on what the tagline should be. The idea behind a slogan or a tagline is to create a memorable, dramatic phrase. It basically sums up your tone. So there are. I keep clicking on the wrong thing here. Excuse me. So, do you know whose slogan is the ultimate driving machine?
Is that BMW?
It's BMW. Can you hear me now? You can just call them out if you know them. Right.
But because it's
The
annoying,
quicker picker. Yeah. The quicker picker upper.
Bounty.
Yes. Small and mighty graphic design firm.
You.
That would be me. Yeah.
Yay.
America runs on.
Duncan.
Again.
Like a good neighbor.
State Farm is there.
There are some. This one sometimes trips people up. There are some things that money can't buy. For everything else, there's
MasterCard.
very good. I've presented this where people don't know what that is.
We must use it.
Well, it's hard now because I skip through commercials. So the ones with the little jingles on it, my son goes around the house singing commercial jingles all the time from whatever he hears on YouTube. But for me,
That's
it's
a
like
good point. Now people don't watch live TV as much, so advertising has had to go on the computer. Yeah.
Right. So this is where I sum it all up. I believe that the facts about your business and your branding should be frequency, anchoring, consistency, and targeting. So what do I mean by that? Frequency is using your brand elements on everything. And until you become Apple Computer and you just can go by visuals alone, by a photo alone, or just a picture of an app, it's the name of your company or your logo. There should be something about your brand elements that are always on something. Anchoring is anchoring your message to your value. So you have to own who you are as a business and let your tagline back that up. Consistency. Again, keeping your brand elements the same across all marketing materials, your graphics, your colors, your messaging, your imagery. So when you send out an email, they should have similar graphics. You should be able to take your Instagram and your Twitter and your Facebook logos and change them to your brand colors. If you can't do that, a graphic designer can do it for you on the cheap, I'm sure.
I will plug Canva is a great free computer thing that we all use at the library to make graphics, and they have every color, all that kind of stuff. They have different texts. It's very user friendly. So if you don't have the cash to invest in someone else doing it and you have to do it start from the ground yourself, try canva.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, and is Canva free?
Canva is free. They also have a pro version, which has a branding aspect where you pay for someone to sort of like hold your hand and like take you through some branding elements.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, most graphic designers I know don't use Canva, so I don't know anything about it.
Right.
Yeah,
it
that's
would
what I was
be
gonna
like
say.
a way to start if you didn't have a graphic
No,
designer.
I know most companies are, I mean, a lot of independent people, a lot of social media people use it. It's very popular. And then targeting. Make sure you remember at all times who you're going after, who your marketplace is. That should be in all your messaging. It should be in your blog posts. It should be in your emails. It should be in whatever you post on LinkedIn. You know, if you need to rant, do that on something personal. You should really, really keep true to your target audience, and that's part of your brand.
We do that with the library's social media. We say, don't get political. That's like our one cardinal rule. If you're going to post on social media, try and keep it neutral. We're the library. We don't support or deny any side. We're just the knowledge resource.
So, and everybody here, do you know if your brand is working for your business? Do you know if whatever the visual you have for your brand represents your business? That's something that
I would say, yeah, it makes me happy when people tell me all the time, oh, I know your logo.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, oh, it's working. They're like, I saw your logo on something. And to me, it's like great because I've had it since day one and I don't think it needs any changes or revisions. So that it just confirms it for me.
that's good. And what you have to also do besides having your logo is you should make, even if it's one sheet, you or the graphic designer you hired, or it's very easy to find templates on how to do this. Give yourself brand guidelines. These are the fonts, the typefaces I'm going to use on all materials. You can find great ones for free on Google, Google Fonts. You can say that there are, these are the colors I'm going to use, these are the fonts I'm going to use. This is the way the logo will appear vertically, horizontally, with the name, without the name, in black and white, in white on a color. All of those things, you should just create a little brand guideline book for yourself.
And also, speaking of Canva, it will give you those color codes. So every color has a code number. And when you're working with different people, say you pack up and decide to work with another firm, you can just give them that color for your brand colors that you have. And you can also do the same thing with the fonts that are in there. And Nancy, for what you were just saying, to one issue I run into a lot are people don't have transparent copies of their logos. So then when I'm working with them, I then need to say, hey, I need a transparent copy, or I need to go and edit it myself to make it transparent so that it looks professional on whatever it is we're creating for them. So I think it's also very important, like that should be a basic when you're getting, even I know graphic designers who don't give the transparent copy of a logo. And so just make sure that you're asking for that.
So when I use something called Logo Package Express, and what I do with that is I will design a logo, and I always give it to them in horizontal and vertical formats. And then I package it up through this program, and I can put a link in the chat also about it. So I package it up, and it gives you every format that you need for web, for print. It gives you JPEGs, PNGs, SVGs, anything that you possibly need. And because you should not ever have to go back to a designer and say, you didn't give me what I need. There should always be a logo that you can wrap around a building if you want to. There should always be, and it as sharp as day. Which is
very thorough. That's great that you offer that.
Yeah, it's just, I've been in it for a while. I know what people came back asking for. So, and I actually was one of the test people for this company that does Logo Package Express to, go over, what was missing, what wasn't missing, what they'd like to be able to offer. And so I've been using it since the product is out. It's really reasonable. I think it's like $99 forever. Wow. Yeah. So they just upgraded it, and it was the first time in all the years that I've been using it that they charged an upgrade fee, which was $20, because they had put so much money into it with their development team that they needed to make a little money back. So it was very reasonable, the $20 after all these years. But
yeah, it sounds like from what you're getting, that's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it gives you a little package. I supply that with the logo, which will also be shown with your tagline, without your tagline. And some people don't have a tagline. That takes a while to get to. So I would love to take any questions that you have. This is one of my favorite sayings, which was by an old timer, Henry Ford. A man, or it should be a person, who stops advertising to save money is like a man who stops a clock to save time. You sh-
That's funny. I love that.
yeah. So it is, it's always difficult, especially in times like these when people do not have a lot of money because they've lost jobs, they've lost clients. But there are things that you can do that don't cost you a lot of money. They are making sure that you post to social media and keeping on brand. They are writing blog posts about what you do, what you want to do if you aren't currently doing something. So all of these things keep you advertising for free. Posting on LinkedIn is always great if you're trying to get business clients. And advertising is just an important thing to keep on going. Marketing, promoting, advertising. Just got to keep that going and keep the brand machine the same. So does anyone have any questions? I know I talk very fast.
No, that was good.
That was great. Yeah. If you have questions, you can ask them or you can put them in the chat. We'll watch the chat for a little bit. To get started, I have a question.
Sure.
So would you say, I know visuals are important, but if you decided to go kind of minimalist with your visuals and you do have a strong tagline, do you think that kind of evens out?
Are you saying minimal with the visuals or minimal with the logo? So
Minimal with the logo, not the visuals.
Okay.
Minimal with the text font and the image that you create. I mean, it's sort of like Amazon's is very minimal, FedEx is very minimal, but it does have something to it. But would you say if you have a strong tagline, that kind of evens out?
I think that they're all equally important. If the tagline sells your company, sometimes the tagline is more important than your visual. So yeah, it definitely can. You look at companies like CBS and ABC and NBC. NBC is the most decorative of all the logos because it has the peacock, which has evolved over the years. CBS, the I was created probably in the 60s or 70s. It is still as relevant today, and it's very, very simple. And I think ABC might just, it might just be the letters ABC, or around New York area, it's the number 7 also. But that's just because it's the channel it's on, New York, Lower Connecticut, and parts of Jersey. But so I think that as long as it's you're making sure that it's linked to something, that it doesn't stand on its own, I think it's okay.
Cool.
Question, Nancy. This is Emilka.
And we don't have anything in the chat yet.
Oh, I think someone is trying to talk.
Oh,
Ashley raised her hand. Go for it, Ashley.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks so much for this presentation.
Sure.
All right, y'all can hear me okay?
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've been using social media, Facebook and Instagram mostly for a while. I have my own website as well. My question is kind of about rebranding. I think I need to have like a more consolidated brand, including a logo as well. But so there's going to be a little bit of a sort of more streamlined branding situation coming up for me shortly. But also kind of after every release, after every album or so, you kind of have, it seems like you're supposed to have a different branding, or at least like a reevaluation of your brand, you know, and then like you use different fonts based on your album and different like cover art. And so I just kind of, do you have any advice or kind of guidelines for the rebranding process?
I think that there should always be something that's consistent that people will know that it's you. And you can certainly switch up your fonts, but if you switch up your visuals, your photo, your album cover, etc., you can keep a logo the same. That doesn't have to change. But I would think that for albums and releases or book releases, you know, the covers do have to look different. But you know, your photo should evolve. But you should try to keep something from time to time that is consistent, so people know that it's you. Because until you are I don't know, Taylor Swift, um, or
Mm-hmm.
you're muted. I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, Taylor
Um,
Swift's not going by Taylor or Swift. She's going by Taylor Swift all the time. So
Right.
it's like your name built in isn't changing. So I think that's really helpful too.
Right.
I'm,
So it's kind of like the Dixie Chicks recently changed to the Chicks. They've had the same logo for a really long time, so they changed the visual to accommodate that. But they had a style that really came across if you look from one album to the next, and it's the way that they post their photos and the way in the type of text that they talk about, which is also similar to what's in their songs. That's also part of the branding for them. It's what you will say under your images that you're posting on social media. Does that help?
yeah, yeah. And to have like a dedicated font, I guess, as well.
Well, if you're let's say you're posting part of your lyrics, people like to post text all the time, whether it's somebody's testimonial or you could do lyrics or you could do poetry or you could put this quote up that I put here by Henry Ford. If you're doing something like that, having those look the same would be great. Let's say your album cover is a tree. So on everything that you post, you can even have 3 or 4 different fonts that are your brand fonts, so you can alternate those, but they all go against the tree background, maybe a tint of it for everything that comes out related to that album. The next album has a bunch of cans on it. So I'm looking around my office is what I'm seeing. And so that would be ghosted in the background of all of those posts that you put, and that's keeping the branding alive, that you're doing this similar thing for your different albums.
I have a good example of that. I love Devo, and they're really well known by their red hats. It's like bucket hats that are
Right.
sort of like step, and they're bright red. So they don't wear their hats at every concert, but it really made them stand out at one of their concerts, and it became sort of like in all their imaging. And so now if you see the hat, you already know it's Devo. So because they incorporated that in their images, they didn't have to do it for every album. They didn't have to incorporate it for every show or every band t-shirt, but because they did it enough, it became sort of like the popular sign for them. So they were able to use it whenever they wanted. They didn't feel like they had to use it for every single album cover or every single band t-shirt, because band t-shirts are the things that really change the most because they need to be specific to that show.
Right.
But they incorporated it enough. They peppered it in with their music videos. They incorporated it enough where it became like synonymous with their name.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, I have a question.
Thinking.
Go ahead.
So with us, we've been trying to rebrand or just sort of make sense of, we have the St. James Studios, which is the S, but Joe wants to sort of drop the St. James Studios and just go by the icon.
Mm-hmm.
And, my issue has always been, we're not Nike, we're not Pepsi, like even Pepsi says Pepsi, but like, would you suggest not changing it up, or maybe possibly having a variation of it, or how, some clients, a lot of our clients already know us, but the new clients wouldn't know we're St. James Studios.
I think you can do it as a two-step process. When you're introducing yourself to your clients, they've got St. James Studios as part of their logo. And when you have an established brand with your clients, your newsletter, which you send out on a regular basis, it could even be on your business cards where you can have the logo on one side, but on the back maybe the logo without the name. You can kind of mix it up. I think that in order for you to get to the point where you don't have St. James Studios on it, you have to really introduce it that way to your clientele. And for your current clients, sure, you could take it off, but I think it also with them has to be a gradual process.
Okay, I could see that. I like that you mentioned. By the way, I was talking when you mentioned the tagline, but I realized that my sound was off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think we found it. We agreed to, it's half of his and half of mine. So
why don't you tell everybody what that was?
mine was, we help people visualize their ideas or their stories. So mine was bringing your ideas to life, or
Okay.
bringing your stories to life. That's what I wanted. And my husband just thought that sounded too much like the GE, bringing good things to life or something like that.
Right.
So he hated it. And I just wanted bringing your ideas to life. So, and he wanted your stories told. Like those 3 words, your stories told. And I just thought, oh, that's just not working for me. So we decided it would be your stories brought to life.
Yeah, I like that.
That.
Felt
It
like,
kind of reminds me of mine. It was no other book like this because like this one it started out as, because it was there is no other book like this one was the tagline. So I was just making an Etsy site. I didn't really realize I was making a business. So it was like very long and I wasn't thinking of branding, and it was a while ago. And then I had to sort of decide for a website name. Is that too long? And I thought it was too long. So I made one. I took out the one, and it's just no other book like this. And so sometimes I'll do like NOBLTO, I think, and just to make it shorter. But I had to go through that process of like, is that okay getting rid of the one, or is that too big a deal? And I was just like, it's not that big a deal. I need to like just do it.
yeah, I hear that. It's so hard, because you have to sort of, you feel like, okay, well, everyone's gonna see this. This is my brand, and so how do you sort of navigate that? How do you sort of make sense of it? So I think I'm okay with it. But I'm actually, as opposed to bringing your ideas to life, your stories told, now it's your stories brought to life, which is still 5, but it's still yours, which is one of the things he wanted, was it to be the very first thing, yours.
And you can always there are always exceptions to rules. So where you can, for instance, my logo. I have a swirl in my logo where the O is, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. But if you get an email from me, the swirl changes into something seasonal. But it's only on emails. So
I love. I'm gonna take that idea. I already told you like a month ago.
right.
And I like that idea too. For me, if you've gotten my emails before, I have a rotating picture between my logo and my headshot. So
Right.
that way it stays on people's mind also.
Yeah.
For
So
my
I have, mine are seasonal. Right now I have a beach ball with flip-flops. In the fall it will turn into a leaf. I have a groundhog. I have a snowman. And these are all things that people who get my emails regularly, not an email newsletter, but my correspondence from my regular email, they know that my logo is different on all of them. And it's something that people actually look for. So if that's
fun, because it's like rebranding, but not committing to having to rebrand. You're just playing with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that is actually part of my brand, is having that in the email. So there are many ways that you can go about these things.
Yeah. And then for the tagline, mine is simple. Let us do the writing for you. But then I also do, like with my son, I just did a promo video with him. And we say, whose word? Sam's word. So I say, whose word? And he says, Sam's word. But I'm also going to start doing some merch, getting some merchandise. And I want to have the whose word, Sam's word on it too, which people with the logo. And then people will start to get familiar with it that way.
You better make me a t-shirt.
I got you.
All right.
I've got a great person, actually I think she's in New Haven or Brantford, who does products that you can put your logos on.
Oh, awesome.
Someone.
Yeah, send me her info.
Okay.
I probably know her. She's in New Haven or Brantford.
Her name is Erin Eberhardt.
Yep, I know Erin.
Okay.
She's with the Network of Executive Women.
She is.
Colleen, that group that I just left.
Yes, that group.
That group.
Oh, okay.
I know Erin.
I used to belong to that group too.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So any other questions from anyone?
I have a quick question.
Go
Can
for
you
it.
suggest any tools? I am not prolific on social media at this time, and it seems like it's just this overwhelming amount of stuff to manage. Are there any tools that are available to sort of recycle and like spread out your content over multiple platforms?
Yeah,
Can
I
can
use.
I say what the library uses? I don't know if you use the same thing.
Go ahead.
It's called Buffer. Have you
Yeah,
heard of it?
yeah, that's what I.
Oh, okay, cool. So I guess we're using the right thing.
And then I use Planoly. I stopped using Buffer because it used to have like gimmicks all the time. It would just start acting up. But I use Planoly, which is actually really cool because I manage other people's social media accounts also. So I'm able to toggle back and forth between their accounts. But Planoly also allows you to, they have a free and a paid version. With the paid version, you can send it to multiple platforms at the same time. And then you can also save your hashtag sets. So your hashtag content should change based on your topic that's in your post. So I can go in and quickly, just even if I'm posting off the whim, because I schedule a lot of my posts to make it easier. But if I want to post manually, I can go into Planoly, grab some hashtags, and then post it. So that's
Yeah,
the
we
other
didn't know
thing.
about that one. We just use Buffer, but that's a benefit.
Planoly is
Yeah, the
cool.
hashtag thing.
And that's the other thing, Julia, when you talk about, how cumbersome it is to manage it. If you're planning it in advance, that'll make it easier for you instead of feeling like you're burdened and you have to put something out now. You can plan it ahead of time and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I have this deep-seated loathing of Facebook and other things like that because it just seems like another job and I would much rather be just making work. So
Right. Well, what we do is like you can spend like an hour in the morning just planning it all out, and then you're not spending your whole day being like, oh, I got to post at 12, and then I got to post again at 3, and I got to like spend all this time. So I think Sammy's right.
And then, well, thank you. And then I also use another tool. I've been calling it Zapier, and somebody told me yesterday they like Zapier. So whatever you want to call it, ZAPIER.com is an integration website, and it literally integrates everything. Whatever tool, program, software you're using, you can type it in Zapier, and it will tell you what you can integrate it with. So for me, I need to be on like I write for businesses, so I need to be on LinkedIn, but there's not a lot of scheduling tools for LinkedIn. So I use Zapier so that whatever I post on Instagram is automatically zapped over to LinkedIn. So when I do that one schedule in Planoly, it's going to go to Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at the same time.
So with Buffer, you can also post to LinkedIn. Yeah, I think you can post to 3 things for a free account. But if you have a MailChimp for your email and you have the $14, I think, a month version, you can do your social media right from there as well, which is really nice and convenient.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. They're trying to build things up. You can also do a landing page through there. And what's nice is it keeps all the graphics, so everything keeps you on brand right within MailChimp.
Yeah, for our collaboration, the collaboration of minority women professionals, we're building our website now, but we've been using a MailChimp landing page for over a year now. And we're able to have our founders' pictures, information about the organization. We have like a picture of our PDF application, but if you click it, you can download it and then send it in. And then we also have our PayPal links. So if you want to pay for your membership, and that's all free through the landing page.
That's great. Stop the share for a minute. I'm tired of looking at the presentation myself.
We lost one person, but we did have some people join late, and I don't know if anyone has any more questions, but this is the time.
Yes, and thank you, Nancy, for coming in. Always great to have you, to chat with you and hear more about your expertise. This is my first time having a deep dive into Nancy's world, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
I guess my only question would be because I've always worked largely through referrals and word of mouth, if you're sort of starting from the ground up from scratch for all of it, do you have any specific advice for that?
For starting for the ground up for branding, you mean, or just for business?
Yes, for branding.
I would say start small. You can always evolve your brand. So If you don't have a budget, do something with your lettering, with your typography. Choose your colors. Do something that, go through that branding exercise and find what's right for you. And then try to be consistent in posting to social media, even if you say, I'm only going to post every Monday. I know a bunch of people who do Marketing Mondays. So Monday is the day that you do all your posting. Maybe that's the day that you contact, I like to tell people if you contact one person a day on LinkedIn, you're contacting 20 people a month. So it's not unmanageable. So just make sure that you're consistent in what you do. Choose your colors, write them down, make your logo, I guess in Canva.
I have another resource that my dad used. It's a nice sort of exercise similar to the ones you were taking us through. It's called Wix, W-I-X, which is a hosting platform, logo creator, and it's free unless you get the paid version. I think there's more involved with it. I'm not sure, but it's free. And the way it works is it's like a quiz, and it'll show you 2 logos, and you decide which you like better of the 2. And it just does that over and over and over. And then it starts giving you put in the name of your thing, you put in the tagline, and it starts giving you like examples of what your logo could look like. And that can spark inspiration, or you're allowed, because it's free, to use that. So I would look into that. It's like a fun little exercise that he did.
Sure, I actually host, my website is on Wix, so that's easy enough. I just never looked
no,
at it.
Yeah, it's a cool service. I thought it was a good idea.
I would also second again Canva. It's they have so many different templates in there that and you can create a lot in Canva. It's not just a social media post. You can do infographics, calendars, you can do whatever you want in there. But I would say just make sure that your branding is consistent, right? So when you're making a social media post, make sure you have your Instagram handle or your social media handle on that image. And I like to I have a content architect who does mine. And I always tell her, make sure you're putting it somewhere where it can't be cropped out, because people will steal your images on Instagram and social media and they'll reshare it. But if you embed your Instagram name or your logo or something inside of the image where it can't be cropped out, then that's really good. So your logo, your @handle, your social media handle, make sure that that's always like minimum is going to be on there.
And really, I would say that if you don't have a newsletter, start one. I
need to do that. That's my next thing, yeah.
You can do it on MailChimp for free for under, I think, 500 subscribers.
2,000, I think it's 2,100, I think.
Oh, it's gone up?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
So
Colleen, maybe that can be, I think we're short on our September presentation. So maybe I have a email marketing presentation I've been doing around the block. So I can bring that over to the library and do that in September too.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great segue into something else we could do for sure.
So that's a place to introduce your logo. It's a place to introduce you to different people. And you have to remember on your newsletter that it should be more letter than news. So you're not really talking about you so much as you're talking about, you're not talking about your product as much as you're talking about you in the world. How you discover materials. I like to write things about patterns. I find patterns everywhere. So
I like to do that for mine too, like show the behind the scenes. And we've seen evidence of this working with the library. We get the most traction when we post pictures of just behind the scenes things at the library, or a librarian working, or we did a mask up post where we had everyone take a selfie of them wearing a mask just to remind people to wear a mask at the beginning of the pandemic. And that got so much traction because people love to see like the personal face of the library. It's not like they don't like to see our posts, but when you pepper that in, we've seen such reaction to that. So we have like proof that that works.
I am definitely going to take pictures of all of my sculptures with masks on and use that. It's a good
I love
idea.
that. That's
And
There
great.
you go,
what-
JFK.
Yes. And what Nancy was saying
Pictures of
for social media too. So your social media post should not just be about selling and advertising. So you want to make sure that you're providing value and sharing tips and strategies and helping people learn something different about your industry and what you're doing. And then every so often you want to pepper it in with, buy this or contact me now or whatever. But you don't want to just be like, like a car salesman.
So, I mean, you can have pictures of the tools that you use. You can have pictures of the different surfaces that you work on. And you can have pictures of an installation. What would be great would be if you did things that were in progress, so that you could do a carousel of images. And I would not rule out putting things on LinkedIn, because businesses buy sculptures and statuary, and so. You never know.
Thanks. It's a good idea.
Good.
Never actually thought of using LinkedIn before.
A lot of people
No, I
do
need
think
to.
it's a very valuable tool.
Yeah. Usually it's just something that peppers me with requests from people I don't remember. So
I think they've added a lot of features that I need to take a second look at it for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, that's another one that I teach. There's a lot of good stuff on LinkedIn. A lot of good stuff. It's actually, I find myself scrolling on LinkedIn thinking I'm on Facebook, because I now have so many connections on there. And it's like, it's just like Facebook. It's political, it's social, it's all kinds of stuff. So it's no longer the boring LinkedIn from when my mother used it years ago. It's up its game, and there's a lot you can do. Also, you can look at ProFinder and see if ProFinder has a category for you where you can market and sell what you're doing. ProFinder is a completely free tool. LinkedIn does not charge you. They don't take a cut out of anything. And you go in and you list yourself as a pro. And when people are looking for you, you'll get an email and a notification on LinkedIn saying, hey, there's a lead available. And then it's just up to you to respond to it.
Interesting.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. This has been great. And I'm glad we got to record it so that the people that missed it can see it. It was getting a lot of traction on social media. A lot of people love this topic, and you shared a lot of great things. So thank you.
You're very welcome.